Well, hello there, you beautiful, beautiful people. I hope you are all well on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday morning. The sun is shining. It's not actually, it's pissing down the rain. But you're looking absolutely amazing today, so take that as a win. Warning, this is going to be a little bit of a rant. A little bit of a rant. It's unlike me, innit, to rant about anything. But a few hours ago, we had Court TV released a video, and it was on the Linda Lane footage. Of all things, the Linda Lane footage. The footage that I believe is likely what Ann Taylor was alluding to, reference some footage that they were sort of given segments of perhaps and split down, and they hadn't obviously done that. They'd given them a massive bundle of probably a month's worth of Linda Lane footage and said, well, it's in there somewhere. But look, anyway, yeah, so they were going over the Linda Lane footage, in particular the movement of the white vehicle past the CCTV cameras that overlooked Linda Lane, showing the multiple passes of the car that they were heavily pushing as Brian Kohberger's car. Gray Hughes stepping forward saying, oh, and it just so happens that Brian Kohberger drives a white Hyundai Elantra. It's like what I said before, it's conditioning. It's all about conditioning. You hear something, you're shown something, like Gray Hughes is very good with showing animations, and they can be very, very powerful. You know, he done that video of the car driving around. Now, I could have done uploaded a screenshot of fucking Pac-Man. That would have looked very, very similar to something driving around and around and around. I think that people miss the point here, and that is that footage doesn't prove that Brian Kohberger is a killer, does it? It doesn't prove anything. It proves that the night that this happened, there was a white vehicle that was driving around in this area. Now, it could be that vehicle was Brian Kohberger's vehicle. Of course it could. I'm not saying that vehicle is 100% not Brian Kohberger's vehicle. But I think it's very important to take note that in the PCA, what we have a lot of information about where that car was when it got to this area. But what they've missed out is how it got there. Sort of the cameras from Brian Kohberger's actual apartment to Moscow. We've got a massive gap in how this car actually travelled to this area. And we also still have Ann Taylor, who is stating that there is no connection between Brian Kohberger and the victims. And that's incredibly important, to be this far down the road. And if you believe what she's saying, she's basically saying, you've been unable to show a link between my client and the victims. And I still don't know how you managed to get to where you've got my client sitting here awaiting trial. We shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be there, should we? Do you know what I mean? And you've got Chris Cuomo and fucking and Gray Hughes sitting there like they've solved the fucking case. Do you know what I mean? Oh, they need to give this footage to the jury. They need to give it to the jury and make them watch it, because that's going to nail this shit home. Nail it home. It's not going to nail fuck all home. You've got to establish multiple things. It would seem that we're still awaiting phone data. I would imagine, because I know that I can remember vaguely that they were talking about the FBI had not handed all of the phone data over. And that phone data would have been available by now. Would have been available. We're a year down the track now, and we seem to be struggling with the phone issue, where the phone ping. We've still got idiot people, who believe that there was phone pinging in the area of 1122 King Road that places Brian Kohberger at this property when this crime happened. It's bizarre. It's absolutely fucking bizarre. But look, Ann Taylor has turned around. She said, look, my client wasn't in this area at the time this crime happened. Wasn't in the area at the time this crime happened. The timeline for this crime is only the timeline for this crime because of an eyewitness that originally didn't exist and then all of a sudden did exist. And then the other part of that house, the other surviving roommate who has failed to fucking speak, failed to come forward, failed to say anything, who potentially had exculpatory evidence, at every single fucking turn that has been blocked to get to her. To get to her has been made impossible. It's like you can't speak to her. You don't need to speak to her. You don't need to speak to her. You're not speaking to her. We're going to do everything in our power to stop you speaking to her. We've got a witness eventually. And she said she saw a man dressed in black, clad in black, mask and that, and eyebrows. He's the man. And he drove a 2013 stroke 15 white Hyundai Elantra that can be seen on this camera. And this crime definitely happened at this time. Forget what Kathy Mabbott said. I know she alluded to the fact it was early. I know that the parents have mentioned earlier time slots and those being dark times. Ignore all that. Don't think about it. It's not important. What is important is that Bryan Kohberger can't escape. We don't want him to escape. We can't afford for him to escape, and we need to do whatever we can in our power to make sure that he, and only him, is nailed for this crime. But there's no connection. That don't matter. We'll just fucking make one up. Do you know what I mean? We are yet to see anything solid that connects Bryan Kohberger to these victims. Yes, we've got the Linda Lane footage. We've got it here. Let me see if I can bring it down here for you guys. Because I'm bloody amazing. I'll point you to the video that we're talking about. So this was done by Court TV a few hours ago, and it's basically Gray Hughes and Chris Cuomo going over the Linda Lane footage. And like I say, they're really pushing hard that this is Bryan Kohberger driving this car, and they even talk about there's a segment of that when the third and final pass, if you like, is different, it's quick, it's rapid, and that's when the adrenaline is really pumping. It's go time. It's go time. Fuck off, Cuomo. Fucking go time. Bloody go time. It's like they get really fucking excited about, oh, we've seen some footage, and all of a sudden all the pieces fall into place. And like this fucking piece of footage proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Bryan Kohberger entered into 1122 King Road on this night and executed these students in this house. And that piece of footage it's a wealth of information. I get that, but with regards to that piece of footage and the Linda Lane footage proving that Bryan Kohberger is the killer, it does nothing to prove that. Absolutely nothing to prove that. Even if that car is a white Hyundai Elantra on there are so many questions. They have to prove that it's the same fucking car going round and round and round, which it could well be, but they have to prove that. They have to prove that that car is in fact Bryan Kohberger's. And even if they can prove it's Bryan Kohberger's, they still have to prove that the crime happened when they think it happened. And they're still going to have to overcome the hurdles of explaining why 1 minute they don't have a witness, then they have a witness. And if Bethany Funk is called to the trial in order to discuss the exculpatory evidence, if it truly does exist, what spanner is that going to throw in the works? But these people don't want to entertain that. Even if they're right, it doesn't make them right. Does that make sense? There are so many questions that you can't push out to your audience that this type of footage and this piece of footage is proof that Bryan Kohberger done this crime. All it is proof that you've got footage of a white car doing circles on the night of this crime. That's all that footage is. That's all it does. Brian Kohberger could be guilty. I'm not under the illusion that this guy 100% is innocent. I'm not, and I say it multiple times. But stuff like this pisses me off. People who are unwilling to look at other things and question other things that don't make sense. Other things that bring into question the entire narrative, like 8-hour time delays, like the fact that we seemingly still don't have a connection between Brian Kohberger and the victims. The fact that Brian Kohberger's vehicle did not have any DNA found inside it whatsoever. There doesn't seem to be any DNA link between Brian Kohberger and the victims. Now, yes, we have a knife sheath. A knife sheath found at the scene that seemingly has Brian Kohberger's DNA, but even that process, it has been so long and laborious to even get to where we can confidently say, okay, that is actually Brian Kohberger's DNA. We can't genuinely even say that 100%. And we've seen multiple other cases in the past where this has been the one thing that's fucked someone over wrongfully. And there are multiple ways that Brian Kohberger's DNA could have gotten a knife sheath and inside that property. And I know that some people don't want to even entertain them sort of things, but trust me, when you've got a law enforcement outfit that are under immense and intense pressure, you will be surprised where their minds and hands will take them to in order to get them to where they need to be. And if they've had a conversation with Brian Kohberger behind closed doors, as you will, because that wasn't fucking video recorded either, which is beyond... It's beyond me. I don't get it. Massive crime. The whole fucking world is watching. You interview him, no evidence of it. But then all of a sudden you've got this DNA. This DNA that seemingly is a little bow round it, wrapped and given on a golden platter. There you go. Have that. I'm not buying it. The golden goose and this crime that don't make sense. It's still round peg, square hole, and until we see more. And I genuinely don't get it. Let me know down below where you are. Oh my God. People do drive me up the wall. I'll catch you all in video 2.